background and his commitment to the working class. And I've always said that artists, professional artists and academics really have to work for the living. They work by brain and hand in precisely the same way as we do, and they should be part of our movement.
I was born in what had been the centre of the Lanarkshire coalfields. My father started his working life down the pit. My uncles worked in the pits. My grandparents worked, my grandfathers worked in the pits. And now, unfortunately, those relatives that I have still in work, where I come from, are now redundant with the closure of the Ravenscraig. As a child, we used to play on what we call bings in Scotland. I don't know if you come across the term. It's the spoil heaps for the pits. And we used to play in what was called a place called Dixon's Bings, which are over past Hill House. We used to pick blackberries on Dixon's Bings. And my father took me for a walk one day up the back road from Hill House, and we looked across over towards Dixon's Bings, and there's a big saucer-shaped depression in the ground. And he says, "You know what that is then?" I said, "No, Dad." And he says, "Well, that's the site of the Blantyre explosion, the biggest mining disaster in Scottish history. And it didn't have so much as a cairn erected on the site to mark it. There was no memorial." It was memories such as those that made me want to do the work.
The actual process of putting something together that was going to physically represent the culmination of that struggle, which was the loss of lives by miners and the loss of their jobs and their liberties, I think in itself came to represent the enormity of that struggle and the importance that lay with that struggle for the future. And of course, no sooner than we put it in, it was installed in 91, we were into the 1990s, and here we are now at Trentham Pit Camp in sort of April 1993, and the struggle's going on.
During the miners' strike, we had a support group, MLMstead support group, who sort of adopted Florence Collier at the time, because that was the colliery up the road, and they came up with this idea that it would be nice if we commemorate the miners' strike, particularly Joe Green and David Jones. And it was just an idea that were flashed through their head, and they said they'd do some sort of benefit and try and raise some money for some bricks. So that was like, I'm talking about 85, 86, and then we heard nothing for ages and ages, and then we had a phone call off him saying, "Look, we've got the bricks, and there's this guy named Frank Casey down in St Albans who's getting ready for get cracking on it, and we thought, oh right, okay, great, because we were expecting, you think of a coal sculpture, you were thinking like a little 2 foot edge, by about 9 inches. I mean, he got the bricks, and it was I don't know what sort of bricks they were, to be honest, but he said it was easy for carving bricks, but it'd be nice if he could have some coal, especially from Staffordshire, incorporated in it, you see. So we said, oh right, no problem, so we'll see what we can do for you. And we first of all, we phoned up the pit, and they said we wanted some coal for an artist for do some sculpturing with, and they said, oh, you'd need like proper coal, like anthracite, hard stuff for that. He says you're going to have to get in touch with South Wales. So we had to phone South Wales NUM up, a tower it was.
What year was this? When are we're going back years
talking,
now, aren't we?
Talking like 85,
yeah, because we
86.
got involved in loads of other things while this was going on.
And I mean, it was like, it didn't happen every day, it wasn't an ongoing project. I mean, a week went by, and then a month went by, and then you had to get back onto it, and we phoned South Wales up, and they said, oh, we can get you some coal, he said, but I mean, you're talking about, he wanted a piece that was about, I think it was about 4 foot by 4 foot, and they're talking about, he says you'd never get it out of the pit because it's all chopped up on the conveyor before it comes out, you see. If you wanted a piece that size, you'd have to go Ask men bodily
Can't
carry it
attempt.
out, you know, and he says it just isn't physically possible to do. So we left it again, and weeks went by and months went by, and then at the end of the day, I think what really jolted us, the shock was, Frank actually phoned up and said,
This was a few years after.
oh
wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, months and everything went by, you know, he
Yeah.
says, I've started the sculpture and I've done the stonework. He says, when's my coal coming? So we said we'd make a positive decision and we'd go look for some coal.
I thought it would be a good idea. You get a nice contrast between limestone and coal. You get the polished black of the coal against the Portland stone. That could look quite impressive. The figure initially started off standing to the left, which is a good place to stand on most occasions, if not all occasions, but he then gradually moved to the centre and took on a more cruciform.
We phoned around the pits and we couldn't find any coal. Nobody gave us permission. So we come up with this brilliant idea of phoning up Oban House in London, National Coal Board, to Mr McGregor himself. And we got in touch and we said that we were phoning on behalf of a local museum. An artist in there wanted to do some sculpturing in coal, and could they help, you know, and they were very, very helpful. I think if we'd have said we were North Staffs Miners Wives Action Group, I think they'd have told us where to go. But what they said to us is, they said, go down to we'll make a phone call down to the local wharf, the coal wharf, and you go down and help yourselves to some coal. So that's what we did. We virtually went down to the coal wharf, and I mean, you're not talking about just going in there and having a sack off them. They literally said, there's all these different sorts of coal in here, and you're talking about 20 or 30 different heaps of coal. Go and choose the coal you want. So we're virtually scrambling on coal heaps, picking lumps of coal what we thought were big enough or the right size, and we were trying to find smooth pieces, square pieces, long pieces, and ended up with a couple of big bags of coal, and we thought we took them down to Frank's house then, didn't we? And I mean, it was really a dead funny day, because we took this coal down, and it was as if the whole estate was waiting for this coal to arrive, because all the neighbours come, next door neighbours, people from down the street, all come look at this coal, you know.
In my simplicity, I thought it'd be a simple matter to get big blocks of coal. Initially I thought a block of coal and then just carving around from one single block of coal.
I think that the enormity of the problems we'd taken on board really hit us when Brenda and myself went to visit Frank at his home, and we first viewed what we were expecting, which was a coal sculpture, and we were taken into his garage, and there were about 12 blocks of coal all piled up in the corner, and we couldn't really even see what image was emerging out of this collection of coal blocks. And it was only the following morning, when they were brought outside of the garage, that we actually realised there was a tremendous image on the block of coal of a miner. But of course then we realised that how were we going to get all these pieces together? That obviously it wasn't just a question of assembling them in the museum, we were going to have to get them bricked in. Our first thought was to get in touch with Graham Foster, who's head of the brickwork department at Stoke-on-Trent Local College.
Both Dave and myself are members of the Guild of Bricklayers. They are an organisation which look after quality of work throughout the country. The stuff came in a variety of size type crates, and we were told, do be careful because they are very valuable and fragile. A lump of concrete at the back of anchoring a piece of coal which had been sculpted, and I expected to see squares, oblong-shaped units that we could build in brickwork and make a model of. That wasn't the case at all. When we first looked at these things, it was horrendous. It was so unlike what I'd expected, I began to wonder what I'd let myself in for. We tried initially to attach these pieces to the design which the architect had done, but unfortunately it didn't work like that at all. The whole thing was too large, and then the planning people came in on the scene, if I recall, and were concerned about the weight So there was a sort of bit of a hold on the project. We went downstairs and looked at all the supporting walls and discussed strengths, etc. Unfortunately, where the model is situated, that is on top of a load-bearing wall, so we were extremely lucky. And they then gave permission for it to go ahead, which we endeavoured to do.
The first time I saw it was along with Graham, where we've got nothing but crates, just crates. Within the crates were these different sections of coal. And even though they were numbered and in some sort of order, we assembled them flat on the floor, and it just didn't seem to be right. And from that point on, that was where, to be honest, we very much ended up designing it ourselves and working from there. The problems we had was, obviously, the coal was delicate. We've got to be so careful we didn't damage the coal. The bricks that we were using were very heavy, and to be fair, we got students that, even though they were capable, you've got to be so careful we didn't end up breaking pieces of this sculpture that was there. It was like assembling a giant jigsaw puzzle at the end of the day. The lads could cope with the bricklaying side, as myself and Graham. It was a matter of trying to actually design the thing and get it look in perspective, because the actual coal sculpture was so large, and to frame it in brickwork meant using a lot of bricks.
The hands and brains of so many people were involved in this that you forget just how many people and how many disciplines and how many skills, administrative and technical and physical skills were involved in it.
Frank did say that if we felt that it could be improved, please improve it. We looked at it, and on the plans, on the original plans, everything seemed to be just plain. So we brought it forward a little bit, so it was looking into the tunnel. The idea behind that was, for us, to get the effect of looking into and through the mine and seeing a lighted figure at the end of it. That was what we were looking at, and we achieved that.
The finish is superb, and that's all down to Mr. Foster from the college and his students, who, not bound by a rigid sort of format, juggled about the ideas, and they get in a huddle and discuss it and say, wouldn't it be better if we did such and such?
I saw the project, I saw it was something different, I saw we could be useful, and I could say to the lads, as I do and as most lads do now, I built that, I worked on that.
Yeah.
He promoted a lot of questions, but why?
Right.
Why was it done like that? And what did you do? What were you involved in? And it went from there. So I think the question mark was raised, and I think that was a good point. That was what caught people's eyes.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that was the best thing about it.
Yeah.
It made people say, you know, what is it and why?
Everybody giving freely and happily what they could to produce a fitting memorial to the memory of David Jones and Joe Green and the other casualties of the strike, the people that were penalised in various ways, blacklisted, criminalised. The important thing is the work. The important thing is not the people who work on the work. The important thing is the work and the significance of the work as a social document, as you like, as a statement of what mattered about that struggle.
The establishment will not like you for being here, because we're in a bit of the public sector, aren't we? They've not destroyed this bit. They're going to have a job and all in Stoke, because they've got 59 Labour seats and only 1 Tory. Well, that's where it's going to be apparently in 2 years. I think they're 55-4 or something. And that's another part of the battle that we've got to win in the course of this next cycle that Pete talked about. Because it does change, you know. So there are moments to cheer. And there are moments to cheer today, because the North Staffordshire women have not gone away. And not only have they not gone away, I mean, they just sing at every opportunity and make sure you hear them.
The people's flag is pale as pink. It's not as red as people think. It's vital we get into power to bring about Neil's finest hour. Of course we can't afford class 4, unilateralism or class war, but not forgetting we're sincere, we'll sing the red flag once a year.
But we should be very proud of what they've done, because they won't give in. And that's what makes us socialists, because we're not going to throw the towel in.
The party's change didn't help one bit. It was 4 more years of Tory shit. There's no more pie up in the sky. The roads were glass, it's got green fly. So take your rose and hold it tight. Withstanding pricks, we'll have to fight. The cowards flinch and traitors sneer. We'll get the red flag back next year.
I'm pleased to be amongst friends and to be part of this. For those that died, Davy Jones and Joe Green, and the others that paid a heavy price in that strike. That strike's etched in my memory and always will be. I can't get rid of it. It's part of everything I do every day. When I see those swines opposite, the strike is there, helping me, guiding me, knowing what my job has to be. And it's because people have paid that tremendous sacrifice and others are refusing to forget it, that none of us will allow this memory to fade. But we don't live on memories. We have to educate and organise and remember.
The people lived in these cottages adjacent to Pit, and then when soldiers came in, they came in to suppress riots. They were quickly turned out, and then they built sort of turf shelters in a nearby wood where they had to make whatever life for themselves as they could during that dispute. If they felt that they could have turned us out of our houses during our strike, they would have done, and we would have been made to live like that if they could have carried it through.
In 1926, people were charged with rioting, and all they were doing were actually fighting for a livelihood to stop the coal owners from reducing the wages and giving them longer hours. Now all we're doing now is fighting for a chance to work and a chance to feed his families. The trouble is, by shutting pits wholesale, then they're actually locking a national asset underground.
Well, I think the plans are set on privatisation. In order to privatise, they have to get shut certain sectors at